Because when it's time for, never mind, I'm just gonna stop there. I have my note. Hi everyone, it's Kennedy, and today I thought I would share some of my grad school study tips. So I just finished my first year of graduate school. These are some of the tips that helped me obtain a 4.0 my first year of grad school, and hopefully they will help you. Some of these are like actual study tips, and some of these are like general success tips because they're not specifically related to how you study. So my first tip, which is really self-explanatory, is go to class. And not only go to class, but pay attention in class. Some graduate schools don't require their students to go to class because they like upload the lectures, or you just read the chapter and you're supposed to know the information. Go to class. Pay attention in class. There's a couple of reasons why this is important. First and foremost, your teacher will recognize you. And when you're in class, ask questions if you don't understand anything. They will remember you. And when you pay attention, you'll hear the information over and over again, which helps you remember it. Second tip, record the lecture. Some professors don't like when you record them. So check to see if your school allows you to record lectures. I don't physically record them like with a camera. I just use the voice recorder on my phone, and most of the time I don't even tell them. But they do know, because there was a girl in my class, in one of my classes, who like used to set her recorder on the desk that the teacher used, the lecture podium in the front, so they knew she was recording, and nobody ever said anything about it. So I don't. So also helpful to record it if you for some reason miss class and your fellow student did record the lecture, because I know like my classmates knew that my friends and I would record the lecture. So if they missed class for some reason, they would just ask us for our recording like the next class, or they would text us if they had our numbers or anything. So recording the lecture is really helpful for yourself and for others. The third tip is to talk to your professors. This is kind of an undergrad tip. This is a tip for no matter what stage you're in. But talk to your professors. I know that at my grad school, lectures are team taught, meaning that professors teach their area of expertise and that alone. So you might run through like 10 different professors in a semester, and half of them might not know you. But if you talk to them after class, or engage with them when they ask questions in class, or ask for clarification when something doesn't make much sense, then you'll get to understand and know them better. So another instance is when I was in class and I had questions about neurotransmitters, for example. I asked the question in class, but then I also emailed her after class because I had a question about something completely unrelated, still related to the lecture, but not the same topic. And she gave me her cell phone number and told me to call her. And in that, she told me what she was going to conceptually include on the test. And so that helped me tremendously on that section of the test. And so like talking to your professors, getting to know them, letting them recognize you, especially because you'll likely be taking classes in the department that you are a part of. Your professors knowing who you are is beneficial. My fourth tip is do the extra credit. If there is extra credit is like a scarce commodity in graduate school because every point counts. I know that something that it didn't surprise me, but it's like not my favorite thing, is that in grad school your grade is based entirely on like the very few tests that you take. There was, and one of actually in all the classes I've taken thus far, like no homework, no quizzes. It's either a test or presentation or like term paper, and that's it. And so if those are all your grades and you're struggling in one of those areas, doing the extra credit assignment, even if it feels like it's a lot of work, shows that you want to get your grade where it's supposed to be, and you should take advantage of those points when they present themselves. My fifth tip, fight for your points. And I don't physically mean fight. Do not fight your professors, even if you want to, because I know sometimes you might. But like, so in a class, after a test, you might not be able to like take your test home, but you will likely be able to review your test if you ask for it. I know for one class that I took my first semester, we would have to go to the course director's office to get our tests, not even to get them, to look at our test. And so we used to stand in a room, and he had an answer key, and we had the test that we had. And I would literally sit there and go through every single question um, that I got right and wrong because I'm nosy like that, but mostly the ones that I got wrong, and saw if I really deserved to get that question wrong. And there's usually not there's usually not something that you can fight for back, because usually when it's wrong, it's wrong. And if it's partially right, they may give you partial points for it. um, but I know that there was twice during the semester that I was misgraded. Either they counted the points wrong, or they took off points for something that I actually didn't get wrong. um, I would take the test and the key and go to the professor who taught that section, and like, hey, you have to be nice about it. You have to be nice. Hey, could you please explain to me how my answer is different from the that might not seem nice to y'all. That's as nice as I'm gonna get if you took my points off, and I think I deserve them. Um, but hey, could you please explain to me how my answer is different from the correct answer? I know for one question, I don't know what the question was, but my answer was not affected, and the correct answer was unchanged. And I was like, please tell me how these answers are different. She's like, oh, I think I made a mistake. And I'm like, oh, so can I get my points back, please? And I did get my points back. And those two occasions that I fought for my points back might not seem like a lot, but that I literally, before I asked for my, and this was on the very last test, before I asked for my points back, I had an 89.9 average in the class. The 3 points that I got back pushed it to a 90. And that's how I got an A my first semester in neuroscience. This was in January, after final grades had been submitted and everything, because that was our final test. And so I didn't have a chance to go look at it before we went off for break. So going back to fight for your points could be the difference between an A and a B. So girl or boy, sir, ma'am, go get your points. My sixth tip is make a study group. So study groups, I mean, they're just kind of self-explanatory. Don't go be in a don't make a study group with all your friends unless your friends are like-minded and motivated in the same way that you are. Well, this is grad school. So grad school, usually people want to pass, but there are still some people who don't want to study. And so make a study group with people who are as dedicated and committed to getting a good grade in the class as you are. And keep it small. Don't have like 8 people in your study group. That is too much. It's not intimate enough. Like, there's too much talking, probably side conversations that don't have anything to do with the material. So I have a study group that we all started grad school at the same time. Um, it started off with 3 of us, because we were all in the neuroscience class together, and then this semester we took a pharmacology course together. So there's 4 of us now, and we meet at least once a week to review and study for the material that we just covered that week, and flesh out anything that we might not have understood from the lecture if something was confusing. And something that I love so much about my study group is that we each have our area of expertise. And so, like, one of my classmates is really good at, honestly, a lot of stuff. And another one has a strong suit in memorization, and so coming up with really good mnemonics and things to memorize. Well, my strong suit is that I'm really good at math, and so anything that has to do with math, I got you. And so there's a lot of formulas, and so when it comes to math and deriving equations and using the formulas or reorganizing them or something like that, then I'm your girl. And there's another classmate who's really good at like quizzing us, or just like this. what's this? What's this? And so we sit there and then just rapid fire drilling at us. And so we learn what we're struggling with. And so having a good study group with a diverse set of skills, is really important for, I think, for your success in graduate school. My seventh study tip is to make a mock test from your notes. And so we have like I said, our classes are team taught. So we have a variety of lecturers. And so for every lecturer, we would make a study guide based on what they taught, even if we have to subdivide it in like sections. So like, I'm just going to give you one example for my neuroscience course. Like, one thing we learned was like axonal elongation. And so like whoever taught that, they got a whole sheet of paper, or usually we actually make them in Google Docs. Like, so they had a whole page of like either fill in the blank, or if they provide us with some sample questions or practice exams, we put those in there too, of questions to fill in the blank, multiple choice, whatever, however we feel like making it. Mock test based on their section. And so by the end, we probably have like 12-page really hard test on one subject, which is way harder than the test will actually be, which is how you ensure your success. There you go. My eighth tip is to study constantly and study what's important. And so I try to study something every day. For classes that you have every day, you're going to hear it every day. And so why don't over that same night you go through and highlight the key points. And that's why also it's important to record the lecture, because the lecturer will probably tell you like this will be on the test, or this is really important, or they will tell you you don't need to know this for the test, so don't know it. I mean, you might need to know it for in general, but like you don't need to like memorize it or spend a lot of time studying that. And so study what you know is important, or if they tell you like what their test is going to be structured like, try to make your mock test based on that. And so I try to review my notes every night. And if you have like a lot of classes at the same time, which you usually don't have too many classes during graduate school, but if you have like 3 or 4 classes, then pick a couple of nights of the week to study, or set out a block. And sometimes people study like right before they go to bed, and they say that it helps them remember things. So kind of do whatever works for you. If you want to wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and study because you're a morning person, then do that. Whatever floats your boat. My ninth study tip, and this relates to my study group, is to study alone and study together. And so we don't meet, I said we meet once a week. We don't meet until we have had a chance to review the content that we are going to be studying about. Like, nobody wants to come to the study group and not be able to contribute intellectually that day, that you're bringing the group down. So make sure that you study on your own and try to internalize information. If you have questions, highlight it, write it down, but try to get as much as you can out of what the lecture was before you go meet with your peers, because you don't want to be dead weight. Try to go through the lectures as they were taught, and when you're in that section that you have a question about, ask your question to your group members, and maybe they'll have an answer, or maybe it's something they also struggle with, and you all can send an email to your professor and ask them, hey, could you explain this a little bit further? We're struggling with this. My last tip is to study differently based on the content. So let's say that a section is really heavy on math. It does not make sense to make a fill-in-the-blank study guide for a math test. For those, it would be really helpful to have practice problems, and you'll usually have some in the lecture that you used. You could change the number, change the little format a little bit, and come up with some practice problems. So everybody, if you have your study group of like 4 or 5 people, everybody come up with 2 or 3 questions apiece. And you all do those together. You can even ask your professor to give you some practice questions if they're amenable to that. Okay, and so now we've reached the end. And so those are my 10 study/success tips for doing well in graduate school. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like my video, click the like button, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Comment down below if you have anything specific you want to see, and I hope to see you all next time.